Hello, everybody. Welcome to World Edition. I'm Nick Pallavita. I will not be your host today. That's up to Mark Lee and Steve Rowell, and neither one are here yet because Mark, I believe, is tied up. So as soon as he gets in, we'll listen to the news. Yesterday, of course, we're going over some of the challenges that we have in the immigration system in the United States, which we don't seem to have a very effective system. Matter of fact, we don't have any real policy at all. And what really shocks me is all you have to do is go look at the international systems, and you'll see they do have they do have some very interesting systems over there. One is that you apply for a visa and you do get different levels as you come in, all the way up to a golden visa if you put more money in. So that's interesting. The other thing that you find out is that they have a tax if you buy property, and they hit you with 10% of the tax. Here, you get to buy and sell properties freely without the government taking. So this does affect the more affluent people because most of the unaffluent people rent, yet the United States doesn't have that tax. We do not look at our systems to find the best by comparing what we do internationally. And frankly, we don't do anything at all as Congress knows. And with that, we're going to bring in the person who's discovered, and anyone know this, the Do Nothing Congress of the United States of America. That's Rick Rosner. Rick, you brought to light that this is the most ineffective Congress that we've ever had, which is really not a good thing to say. And there are things that you can do, like we mentioned. You could change your immigration policy. They always say we got to have immigration laws reform, but what is it? And no one says so. They just say we have to have reform. No. You have to have a plan, a strategic plan, how to make immigration work for Americans. I mean, for me, it's real simple. Adopt the European model. You pay to play. If not, go play somewhere else. And it works. They also do this, which is very interesting, because I know you guys in California, and I shouldn't say this against my interest because I work with some of the biggest real estate people in California, but you can buy and sell properties. You don't pay a tax. In Europe, at least in Spain, the minute I buy a property, the government takes 10% of the purchase price. And I'm going, that affects rich people because rich people, and doesn't affect poor people. Poor people rent, rich people buy. And it's a great way to collect the revenue without having them to escape the income tax. In other words, all the hidden gains.
We're spoiled in California because our property tax is pegged to the price when you bought the property.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. And see, that's another thing. In other words, if you look at the tax system of the United States of America, it's designed to enhance. The more you have, the better off you are. And the people that have are pretty smart about it. But when I was looking to buy property in Spain, I go, whoa, the first thing that happens, the government clips 10%. They take a 10% commission. I said, that's pretty smart. Why don't they do it over here? Because we're dumb. And with that, we're going to bring another smart person in, Kim Calhoun, who probably isn't looking to buy property overseas. But I can tell you, as I'm doing this exploration, I go, you find out that when you work internationally, some people have great ideas. America has no ideas. They're clueless. Yeah, all they do is yell and scream.
Even so, and even though we're politically paralyzed, we are, if you're worried about immigration, we're in better shape than the European countries because they're closer to a lot more countries. People coming up through Africa, we have a bunch of choke points to get to Mexico to come into the U.S. You got to go through Central America, which is it's a tough journey.
Yeah.
And we don't have as many people to the south of us coming up as Europe does. Also, all the European countries are 1/5 the size of the U.S., and they are like 10% new immigrants compared to us.
The guy that had the great idea, I accepted as a friendly amendment to give a immigration dividend check. I like that idea, Sasha, and that'll pull a lot of people on your side because now all of a sudden you take this See, this is the reason you have no people who think in Washington. You take a problem, in San Francisco, they think problem solutions. Here they just yell and scream. They have no solutions. But you take a problem, you turn it around. And the thing is, having the dividend check is a great idea. So yes, they pay to come in, 10 grand. 100,000 if they want to be expedited. And we know $1 million's the golden visa. You can do that overseas all the time. Put $1 million in the economy, you get a golden visa. So we have an open border policy. You do background checks. I mean, that's part of why they spend 10 grand. Okay, everybody else gets deported, by the way. It's not catch and release. It's catch, pay the 10 grand, or get deported, or go find the 10 grand.
But
Hammer down, baby. Give me the dividend check. Give Nick the dividend check.
Each immigrant is paying about $10,000 to different. You can call them transportation companies. They're actually bandits who transport them.
I know they give you 10 grand.
To Mexico, from Mexico to U.S. borders, and all that costs money, and they paying money because understand without that they will never get to the border. So $10,000 is sort of a number that is agreeable. I still don't get how the people in Guatemala or Honduras or countries how they can get $10,000 together. They have to work probably for several years.
So what?
Eat next to nothing to collect.
So what? Everybody does it.
It's a fact of life. So they have to
It's a
get
fact of life. Come on,
So they have to understand. Okay, there is no purpose to pay this $10,000 to get to the border if you cannot go any farther. So why would you pay $10,000 to come there and then come back?
No, but they wouldn't have to pay the coyotes anymore to get them across the border. They pay me to get them across the border, and I have no problem with it. I get my immigration dividend check, and you stop all this nonsense, and stop this liberal craziness that we're just going to throw money at a problem. If we throw money at a problem, it'll be solved. By the way, we have our liberal who wants to just give America away to the foreigners. Oh, here he is. Jatovy, giveaway.
I want to add something. I don't think we need to put the tax on them as they're coming in, but just start treating them the way you treat us. Okay. So in other words, put them to work, make them work for their accommodations, and tax their money that way and get the money rolling in. The problem is we don't tax them. The problem is the way that you're talking about. Too many people take advantage of that, and they already do. They charge them $10,000 to $20,000 to get their citizenship here, but it doesn't come to America. The money goes into some lawyer's pocket.
If an immigrant has a job, they get taxes taken out of their paycheck just like everybody else, to the tune of of like $1 trillion a year from everybody who's
but the $10,000 upfront fee is what they call an impact fee. Do you know, when I was working with real estate developers, one of the problems that we had, now this is down in Florida, every time we built a property, we got hit with a Florida impact fee, to build a property. So the thing is, you get used to impact fees. So when somebody comes in the United States, they get hit with an impact fee. I don't care how they pay for it. Take a loan out, go to Jatovy, he'll lend them the money.
Just to point out, they do pay taxes, just as Rick pointed out. But also on top of that, when they pay for foods and services, they also pay taxes there. The reason you talk about that is on the business side. So you're attacking immigrants for not paying taxes when they're doing the work that the business is asking them to do. So that's more so the business's fault and the actual business that's hiring the actual immigrants. So they're paying an not doing what the businesses are supposed to be doing.
No. They're paying an impact fee. Everybody pays.
What I was telling you yesterday, the impact tax would be equal, ideally, to the student's loan, which cannot be discharged. It cannot be discharged. Bankruptcy.
You can't discharge it in bankruptcy.
It goes on against all families. So even if you die, your children still will be paying impact.
It's a cheap loan. And
as Nick knows, if you bring over a skilled worker on an H-1B visa, the company hiring that person pays the government $5,000 and possibly more. If you want to get some more money out of this system, you make the companies that hire the unskilled workers, like the meat packing companies. The meat packing companies hire undocumented immigrants by the hundreds and probably the thousands. They don't pay anything. They don't get in trouble. Make them pay a couple grand for every immigrant that they hire, because they're
this is a win-win
those.
situation. A win-win situation. The immigrant wins because they get a ticket to the United States of America, which they love so much. We win.
But if you watch
immigration,
if you watch Fox News, if you watch Fox News, you think we're being overwhelmed. We're not. The U.S. population 10 years ago was 332 million. Now it's like 337 million. We have the lowest population growth in the history of the U.S. because we're just not making enough babies. It would be going down if it weren't for immigration. But we're not
listen, when
flooded.
Toby starts getting that immigration dividend check and it increases.
No, that's another thing. See, so this is also another crazy idea. This is another crazy idea to charge them this outlandish amount of money to put them into debt, meaning we're going to add more debt to what we have rather than fixing the system that we already have in place, because they're already paying into everything, giving them a path towards citizenship, which actually increases the taxes. And we're already looking at, in the system that we have currently, 1 trillion in revenue plus 7 trillion over the next 10 years in revenue alone, just from the immigration system. But what you're saying is that you want them to take out loans to pay you an extra amount of money. Well, we're sitting here where students have taken out loans, which is actually one of the biggest triggers on our what's the thing that you always bring up, that you say we need to nobody reads the bill and adds so much to our debt. That's exactly what you're doing. You're adding more to the national debt when you're actually telling people that don't have any money to take out loans to pay for things that they can't pay for in the first place.
Spend $6,000.
I want to make a little. I want to say something here. We need to start treating them the way we treat us. So, and if you do that, then odds are they don't want to come over here, because quite frankly, I don't even want to live here anymore the way they treat us. So if you start treating people the way you're treating us, they are going to make a second decision before crossing over. But if you make them pay their way in, even on a loan status, not indentured, but on a loan status, make it equal to what we're making our own children, which I paid many years. I scraped, I saved, I built myself, I put myself through school, and then I paid for my child to go to school. And you're telling me that somebody from another country that never put a dime into this country, never put a dime of sweat or pain or tears into this country, deserves more than my own child? I have a problem with that, Jacoby.
But nobody
I do too,
more than your own child. No one is saying that, but individuals who are demonizing the migrants themselves. For example, a migrant actually living in Mexico right now should not be paying in the same amount of money that you paid for your child right now. Why? Why would they do that? That makes absolutely no sense. So when they move to this country, and actually pay those fees that are actually there already for them to pay across, then they start paying into the system the same way that you're paying into the system. Nobody is asking for more. What you're saying is, what you actually just said is that we should treat them the same. True. But no, we shouldn't. We should make them pay back pay and all this other stuff. That's not treating them the same.
It's an impact fee.
Demonizing them and telling them
no, it isn't.
That's not
you
the
didn't
same.
hear the beginning of this, Jacoby. I'm looking to buy property in Spain, and they hit me with the first thing, a 10% of the purchase price tax to buy property in Spain. So if I buy a $350,000 property, it's $35,000. I'm being demonized. Let me get my bleeding heart out.
How much was it to, if you were out, if Sasha wanted to buy a place in the US, isn't there an actual extra tax that he'd have to pay as well? So then your argument is moot. You're just making something up.
Well, if you go to France or if you move to any other country in the world, you're going to pay a lot of extra fees. They want you to move a portion of your bank account to that country. They want you to become a bit of a citizen. You're going to have to pay the tax.
Pay to play,
Gotta
baby.
do the same
So
here.
there are fees anywhere you want to go. It is not free. Travel
It's
is
not free to move here either. That's
Right.
the thing. What are you?
So we're going
that's
to
the problem. Is that we're saying that there are fees to move all the other countries, but we're ignoring the fact that there are fees to move here.
Well, no,
that's
we're
the problem.
ignoring the fact that right now
Yeah,
everyone
very
moving
nice.
here
Yeah.
is moving in for free unless they're doing it legitimately.
Incorrect.
Doing it
People are
legitimately,
not
you're
moving here
paying.
for free.
But right now, the medical care, their education,
It's not free.
accommodations,
It's
food.
not free.
You didn't read the
It is
government.
not
bill.
free.
Wait,
You're right.
let's
Oh,
Sasha
my
say it.
It is
You're
not
paying.
free.
Sasha has a thing to say. Let's Sasha go.
Okay,
Sasha.
listen, these immigrants who are coming to US, they are beneficiaries of generations of American who build the infrastructure, roads, bridges, buildings, everything, and they are getting there all at once. So it's not unreasonable that they will pay, say, 10,000. That you don't have to pay cash. No, it will be like similar to students' loan that you will pay over time before you'll die. And if you'll die, then your children will continue to pay that. And okay, Nick, tell me, this plan,
Sasha, your argument is that immigrants moving to the U.S. benefit. No. Your argument is that immigrants move to the U.S. and benefit from the roads that are already built. Isn't that the same that you can say that if an immigrant moves to Canada, they're benefiting from the roads that are already there? If they move to France, they're benefiting from the roads. That is not an argument. That is just really just pointing out
it is an argument. I mean,
that's like saying I go over to my neighbor's house
your
and
idea
I'm
is
benefiting from the fact that they have a better Wi-Fi setup than I do.
Nick, tell me, students' loans are being treated as receivables, right? Because
they're actually assets on the books of the United States.
It's a high quality receivable. So impact fees will be also high quality receivables.
Non-dischargeable.
And they go to advertise all over the world. People come to US. We are waiting.
Come to the US, baby.
And you know what? That's how US can get rid of its debts.
Should we let Mark do the news so it's not just the immigration show?
Yeah, right. I didn't know Mark was ready for the news. Are you ready for the news, Mark? He's muted.
Mark.
It looks like he's spinning around in a circle. It looks like he's on a merry-go-round. He's in a merry-go-round of debt, which Detovi wants to keep the United States in.
He's on a bus in downtown Durham, and I know exactly where he is. I can see it in the background.
I need to make America solvent again, but I like Sasha's idea. Everybody receives an immigration check. No. The only thing good about that stupid COVID is they made, when they sent out the $2,000 check, they sent it to everybody. Normally, when the government sends money, it goes to the rich people, poor people get nothing. And then the poor people say we should give more money away. And the rich people say, I get it. I'll take it.
Nick, I want to add to that. They gave the rich people millions of dollars each while they were giving us $2,000, hoping that would keep our mouths shut. But it didn't keep mine.
You're right.
That was real equal there, you know. They expected the regular Americans.
Yeah, here's your $2,000. Why we took in over $250,000. While you guys got your $2,000. I hope you're happy.
Right.
Well, by the way,
I got to say that or anything else isn't going to happen before 2025 because Congress is paralyzed.
Well, the thing is, they don't even talk about it, though. See, the problem, Rick, they don't talk about it. What happens is that one guy yells, we need reform. The other guy yells, we should close the border. And not one of them said, hey, we've got a solid plan that myself and Sasha put together that would get rid of the stupid carpetbaggers and scalawags who charge these people to get across the border, and they send the money instead to us.
So
and it goes to us as dividends, but Sasha doesn't give a dividend.
You're forgetting the fact that that actually
will get a dividend. When Jacoby
they did actually have a deal that was actually a bipartisan yet very conservative immigration bill that was on the floor.
No, that's a giveaway bill.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It actually was a very conservative bill.
Let's hire more lawyers.
It
Come
was
on, Jacoby,
it
let's hire
needs,
more
you
lawyers.
got to
Let's
create a
process more
pathway to
innocent.
citizenship. If you don't create that pathway, if you don't streamline the system, then everything that you're saying,
No, there is no
ain't
system to
happen.
streamline.
So
You
again,
know, it's just
there was a bill on the
liberal
floor
giveaway. I'm glad they
that was
voted it.
actually agreed on bipartisan wise. However, then Trump
It was a
said, no,
bad idea.
I
It was
need
no
a
idea.
talking point for the election.
No.
The MAGA wing of the Republican Party tanked the bill. And therefore, we are now back to still in the position that we were before, where we need immigration laws changed.
We do, but we need to have change has to be good change. Sasha and I propose a good change that benefits
That's not a good
all
change.
Americans.
You're adding more debt to the national
Sasha,
debt.
No, it doesn't. It benefits all Americans.
It does not.
This
You're adding more
change
debt to the
puts
national
money
debt.
in everybody.
You're telling people to take out extra loans that they're not
Your
going to be
idea
able to
just
pay
puts
back.
everybody more in
That's
debt.
adding debt to the national
Let's
debt.
spend more money.
No, not at all. We are
Thank you,
getting
Sasha.
good receivables. Why are you talking about the debt? The people
good
are
receivables.
yes who are coming to US. That's a different story. Same as students, but
Yeah.
it creates a good receivables.
Student
and
loans are
balance
part of the
sheet-
national debt.
Absolutely not. How come?
No, it's not part of the
So-
national debt. It's their
No,
debt
not
they
at all.
owe us. And we
Student
get
loans
our
are part of
dividend
the
check.
national debt.
No, it's part of personal debts of students and their families. No, not at all. U.S. is benefiting because it has sitting on good receivables, and
That's right.
the impact fee will create another source of good
Again,
receivables.
you're
And
telling
then
people to
you
take
can
out
go
loans.
to advertise. You can take millions of people
All
every
right,
month,
we're-
and it will create incredible balance sheet for U.S. because it's all
Yeah.
good.
We're going around in
it's
circles.
not.
Let's talk about something else. RFK named his VP candidate yesterday, Nicole Shanahan, a Silicon Valley, billionaire. She's done stuff on her own, but she's the former wife of one of the Google founders.
Yeah, Sergey Brin.
Yeah. My issue with I have a lot of issues with the RFK ticket, but one issue is they have 0 years in politics. And we saw what 4 years of a guy who started with zero experience does to the country, especially in a crisis.
But wait a sec. Trump also came with any government experience, and look
That's
how
what I'm
long
saying.
Trump.
Yeah, RFK he's a conspiracy theory anti-vaxxer who also has dabbled a little bit in anti-Semitism in some of his comments. Yeah, the lady that he put up there just paid for his Super Bowl ad, and she's got a lot of money, so that's why he picked her.
Yeah, right. It was a good pick on his part, but it doesn't change the fact he is an idiot. Okay. I mean, the thing is, the only thing he has for him, he has the Kennedy name because he was Robert Kennedy's son. Other than that, this guy is a complete bloody moron, but he made a good pick on the football team. Pick the person who's got the money to help back you. So I think his pick was good, but the guy is a complete loony.
But you know what? Is she smart? You know what? You guys.
Yeah, she should be the head of the ticket. He should be like
so
a VP.
How
or
smart is she?
some-
She's very young. She's, who knows? Maybe she was the guiding light to Google's success. I mean, Amazon, we know that who was the real person behind the Amazon success. It wasn't, who, Bezos. So I would say it was his idea, right? But maybe
Kim,
she's a lot smarter VP than anyone would give her credit.
Name a year that the VP won the presidency.
Well, let's see. Al Gore. No, he didn't.
I know.
Oh,
the
Joe
years
Biden.
that
He was a
it.
VP.
Nobody
Joe
votes
Biden
for the
was a
VP. He only picked her because she
Not a good
had
example.
money. She paid for his ad. That's
I
all
think
we
it's.
need.
I think you're right there, but I
Drop
think
in the
you're
bucket.
discrediting her intelligence, and I think
I'm not
that's
saying
wrong.
anything about her intelligence. She could be
But
brilliant.
you
She could be
discredited
no,
by
this-
saying
this
she
may
paid
be a
her
great-
way.
But again, the
Joe
fact of the matter is nobody votes for the VP.
Tovey.
No,
I
no,
don't
we're
care.
voting for
You
her
just
president because-
discredited her by saying she paid her way, and that's not right.
I did not say she
Yes,
No,
paid
no.
her way.
You said
She
she
could
paid her
be the
ticket.
president.
Here are my words so you can quote me correctly. He
Oh, Lord.
picked her because she paid for his ads.
Yeah, but also she might be president because Kennedys have a history of being knocked off.
You
Think about
totally discredit a
Your
woman
name is a
for
chance
lying
to
her
be
way.
voting for this
For
country.
her.
And they actually have a
People
good, smart,
are voting
rich
for the
female
president. She
because
Why don't we
Kennedy
talk
gets elected, he
about
gets
her
bumped off, and
qualities?
you get her. That's not a bad thing.
Why don't we talk about her qualities?
Yeah, VP's like a VP said that being
Pretty.
VP wasn't worth a warm bucket of piss.
Yeah, but in this
it-
case,
it-
it's different, Rick. It's different because she's smart, she's rich. Kennedys tend to die in office, or they tend to get bumped off. She
I
could
gotta
be the
also say
next
she
president
doesn't-
of the
she
United
looks-
States.
She doesn't
This is
look
a
weird.
great
All right, so she doesn't look weird when you look at
Nobody's
who's
voting
running.
for her.
All right,
People
so-
are going to vote for Kennedy if they want Kennedy.
No,
They're not
you
voting
are voting for
for
her.
Nicole. It's
You're
just a fact.
voting for her because Kennedy won't be around. What happened to Johnny and Robert Sr.?
I'm just saying,
One round.
I always say that. If I were a Kennedy, I would never run for any office. And I mean, look at Caroline. She finally stepped down. I think that was very smart on her part. Go live your life and enjoy it. You're very wealthy.
I don't think Kennedys are more subject to getting shot than any other politician. I mean, in the past,
or getting
future,
an
the-
airplane crashes off of Martha's Vineyard.
Well, that
How about an
was
airplane crash off
was
Martha's Vineyard?
hubris. That plane crash was hubris. He didn't know how to fly in a storm, and he flew into a storm.
I've been to Martha's Vineyard a lot, and I can tell you it is dangerous. I had real pilots that flew, but you don't see anything except fog. Then all of a sudden, bang, you're on Martha's Vineyard because it fogs in all the time. You'd think the guy would know something, but he wouldn't. But the thing is, the history of the Kennedys, they all tend to die. And so then
tragic
by
death.
some nefarious mean.
Tragic.
So then the thing is, she has a chance to be the first female president, and she might have brains. She definitely has money. She may have the great combination. She may actually accept good ideas as opposed to liberals.
And
who
we
reject all
might
that. actually have an immigration
Nobody,
tax.
again, Nick, nobody is going to the polls that's going to vote for Kennedy saying,
I
hey, you know
will.
what? I'm going to vote for Nicole because Kennedy's going to die.
Yeah.
That nobody does that.
They-
Nobody does that.
So nobody
it's a
went to
real
the polls and
probability.
voted for Biden because he picked Kamala. Nobody.
Nobody went to the polls and said,
Nobody.
I'm going to vote
Nobody
for
supported
Kamala
him
because
because of
Biden's
Kamala.
going to die. Kim, you're stating it wrong.
I think some people
Nobody went to the
disagree with
polls and
that.
said, hey, I'm voting for Kamala or Kamala Harris because
Won't
Biden's
be
going to
me
die.
that,
Nobody did that.
Toby.
Absolutely nobody votes for the VP. That is
Also,
not true.
nobody's Kennedy can't get elected. He can't pull enough votes. All he can do is throw the election one way or the other, depending on whether he gloms more Trump people or Biden people. But one thing she has is she's pleasant looking. And all the presidential candidates look weird. Biden looks old. Trump is old plus orange makeup plus weird comb over. RFK, he looks more vigorous, but it's because he's on testosterone replacement. He's an old man too. She's young and she's attractive. And so you've got the two VP candidates that we know so far, are at least less hard on the eyes than the
I
presidential.
agree. Totally agree. And now you have to look at Kennedy seriously. If he could actually surround himself with good people, even though he's an idiot, that there's a chance for America. The other two places, there are no chance. So he might pull a lot of votes.
No,
You
It's
never know.
pretty smart to bring somebody on board that has the money. I have to
that's
say,
true.
I mean, that's very.
I don't know
smart.
how. I think she would.
It doesn't mean I like him.
But I mean, depending on how it was worked out, she could have 20 or 30 real billion as opposed to Trump that has 2 maybe billion and maybe not. And
Yeah,
maybe
but if
not
she's
even
smart,
100
she's not gonna.
Wait a sec. Nick, you're underestimating something about Trump. Yesterday it was official that Trump came back to Forbes 500 richest people in the world. And soon,
that's because of his stock.
yeah, and soon he will become number one because the stock will go to about $5,000 a share, and with that you can multiply and see how rich Trump is.
He's got 40% of the
It's
company.
not
The
gonna go-
DJT
I-
stock.
more.
That stock is thin air. That stock is hot
It's
air.
sitting at what,
Sasha.
$60?
It
It's
doesn't
right.
have any
I
I'm
agree
gonna
with
vote for
you.
anybody else.
Nick,
That's
I
what
agree
I'm
with
gonna vote
you.
for.
Isn't that-
Are you
Anybody
gonna
else?
invest in
How
the
much I
GDK
know about
air stock?
stocks, if there are only
Sasha.
buyers and no sellers, it doesn't matter the fundamentals anymore. Stocks will go up as a rocket. I think
I gotta have a drink.
Here's the question.
it will get to $5,000
Sasha.
territory, and very quickly, by the way.
Really?
Is
Trump
Sasha,
has
the sad part about
the
stocks is
stock
you're like
itself
always
is
right.
sitting at $60 right now, isn't it? It's 60 or $70.
Okay, we'll go
And
to 100 in next
I
couple
don't-
of days.
And
The stock for him
he
to run
can't,
for
he
president?
can't turn that until 6 months, correct?
Right,
Yeah,
you
it's
can't-
144
What
restricted
happens
stock.
if
Tanks within that
I
6
told you,
months.
Probably
looks
144
a very
stock.
simple math. For 6 months, all the insiders are locked. So there are no sellers.
Right.
No, and you cannot short the stock either. If you'll go to your broker, he will not get you shares to
But-
short. So if the stock is going, it's almost like a vertical
But
line.
what if it goes down?
It cannot. For
It can't?
stock to go
It's Donald
down,
Trump
you have
stock.
to have
That
supply
doesn't count.
of sellers. And I'm telling you, for 6 months, there will be no sellers. So only buyers, no sellers. What's going to happen to the stock? What do you think?
What happened? So at the end of the 6-month period that it went, at the
That's a
6-month
different
period,
story. What's happened in 6 months? The stock will
Okay,
go.
you've
25
convinced me.
cents.
You've convinced me. The Pod TV Stock Foundation will invest in Donald Trump stock. That'll make
So,
Titovi happy when he
can-
gets
can
his
Donald
own
Trump use it?
dividend.
Nick, but this is not ethical investment. Remember that.
What? When it comes to
Let me ask
investing,
Ethics
Yeah.
has
there's no
nothing to
book
do with
called-
making money.
You don't touch.
ethics when it comes to investing.
Can Donald Trump use these temporary billions as collateral to
No.
get bonds
Nope.
against?
It's 144 stock. It's restricted stock. I had some clients actually up in your way in Silicon Valley. I'm not going to tell you the name of the company he founded, but it was pretty good. And all of a sudden, bang, he's worth $20 million because not because he was worth it. He was worth it on paper, but he calls me up because my 144 finally got released. You know what he did? First thing he did he bought a $2 million home in Silicon Valley. I was there
That'll
when
get
he was
you a
doing
one-bedroom
that.
condo in Silicon Valley.
Well, that was then, but this was like this has got to be 15 years ago when I was with him in working in Silicon Valley, and so this stock is what they call 144. It's restricted, and then once the restrictions are off, then Donald will be a rich man, a real
Not
rich man.
really. He is going to be rich for first 6 months. Once the
And then-
restrictions are done, the stock will go all the way down because everybody will start selling.
Because everybody else is going to
Hey, he can build his own jail, right? He can build his own jail.
he can build his own
several
jail while he's
jails.
president.
He should be doing that now. Maybe that's what he's doing is building his own prisons because a lot of prisons are privately owned now. So
That's true.
yeah,
is
so
sad.
he
Then,
could
you know
be
what?
building his
He'll have
own
a prison
prison.
with
Wait a
gold
moment.
plated toilets.
Why doesn't he designate Mar-a-Lago his personal jail? So he'll he'll put
He'll
some
build
guards.
his own prison with gold-plated toilets. He goes, "It'll be the best prison out there. There'll be no prison like this. It'll have gold-plated toilets.
It's gonna be
It'll have-
mother
it'll
of all
have
prisons.
Silver
Every
bars on
senator
it.
will want to go.
It'll have the best beds a prison can possibly have. It'll
I
be
just
the
it's
best
the pillow. I have to
basketball
have the
court
right
for the
pillow.
prison.
Yeah.
And, it'll be 5-star prison. It'll call the Donald Trump prison, and I'll live there. So that's Donald Trump's
Do we
future.
want to talk about Puff Daddy and his sons getting, I guess, arrested for?
What happened there, Rick? Give
That's
us
the
a
sex
little bit of
trafficking.
tip on that.
Yeah, sex trafficking, sex and gun trafficking.
Yeah,
Can
we
you-
need somebody who's an expert on sex and drugs. Jatovi, Rick, can you guys chime in here?
I don't know. That's on Rick.
I'm not-
Rick's got the
Rick,
sex.
Rick, you're an expert on sex. and
If you're in
drugs.
an environment where like you're powerful and people can't say no to you, then you're free to indulge all your kinks. And we saw it with Michael Jackson, Cosby, Harvey Weinstein. I always say, like, how about instead of destroying people's lives, you just calm down and you look like at porn when everybody else in the house is asleep, like every other like normal guy in America, and you don't. Like, I think it's dumb and it's old school, and it leads to disaster when you have people mounting these sex grooming enterprises.
Okay, I have no expertise in that area, so I have nothing really to.
Well, it's just the entourage thing. When you're surrounded by a bunch of people who facilitate whatever you want to do, often what these guys want to do is pretty creepy.
Well,
here's one. If you guys want to stay feisty in the talking topics, I don't remember. Well, I might have come late and missed it, but nobody talked about U.S. and Israel split on the ceasefire, which happened at the UN yesterday morning. Actually, I think. So anybody want to talk about that one?
What happened? Like, so there's the security. The U.S. has an unfightable veto. There are the 5 countries who owned the world at the end of World War II comprise the Security Council, and any one of those countries can veto any kind of motion. And for the first time, like Jacoby said, the U.S. didn't veto a motion criticizing Israel. The U.S. abstained, which is like a first, right, Jacoby?
Yep, yes. It's the first time, and the tension still between the U.S. and Israel. Well, mainly the U.S. and Netanyahu and his right-wing party that's where the tensions are right now. And I think everybody is starting to turn against Netanyahu, and there are a lot of, and he still has a low popularity rating in his country, in Israel itself, because of his actions and his right-wing government.
But the voters can ask to hold a referendum on his president, but they're not going to do that as long as the war is going on. So Netanyahu has no incentive to shorten the war, because as soon as the war is over, he probably gets kicked out of office.
I think the problem they have.
He got promoted, right? So, I mean, I think it all depends on how your people perceive you and what they support. But I think that there's more to the story than what we're being told. And I hope I can learn more when I go up there and visit with the UN office in the next week or two.
I thought it would be a little bit more feisty.
A political move from the U.S. because the Biden administration hasn't really condemned Israel too much. And if you see Trump, he's trying to condemn what's happening in Palestine, and a lot of the voters are very concerned about Palestine. So I feel like it's finally trying to make a move to try to condemn all the actions that Israel has made in bombing children and etc. Because it's on both sides of the aisle that are against that.
Well, and I think that it's both sides that are killing children, right? You hear the stories, and I think most of the stories are used as propaganda, but the war is war, and it doesn't matter. And I think it's time to put the guns down and talk like grown adults, quit acting like children and going, well, he shot me first. Okay, it's over. You can either sit there and kill each other for the rest of eternity like you've been doing for the last thousands of years, or you can sit down like grown adults and behave like the religion tells you to behave, and behave like your God tells you to behave. Stop killing each other and learn to live with each other. That's what I
neither
think.
Neither side has any incentive to quit fighting.
Unless you belong to a religion that believes that you should kill everyone.
Now, leave religion out, please. The thing is that if Hamas wanted to have peace in next half an hour, release all the hostages immediately, right now, without any conditions, and here is a peace, and then we can talk. But they keep the hostages, and one of the reasons that they keep the hostages is that there are a lot of young Israeli girls who were impregnated on October 7th. And these morons, they want them to bear the children. So there will be half Palestinians, half Jewish, and they will indoctrinate them from the early years that all Jews have to be killed and taken out to the sea and so on. This is the reason why they don't release the hostages.
Sasha,
And until it will persist, Hamas has to go, period, full stop.
So you think it's okay for Israel to go in and kill everyone, including the hostages? Here's what should happen. Why don't you just put the bullets down, put everything down, and seek Hamas out a little at a time as things move and settle? Because eventually they're going to stick their heads out and then you can cut them. But that's how I would do it. I would just let the dust settle, let people start getting naturally released, and then seek your enemy one by one. Target your enemy, not
under Rafah, neither side has any incentive to quit fighting. And under Rafah, there's a network of deep tunnels. So it's not like they're trapped, and the Hamas has ways to get away. And only about half of Hamas has been killed by the Israelis. So,
but let's use our brains a little bit. If you were in a country and you're not part of the military, and you know that people are going to shoot you regardless of who you are, aren't you going to go dive into a tunnel and hide you and your family? I mean, come on, let's use our brains. Not everybody
Hamas isn't letting everybody into the tunnels. The tunnels belong to Hamas. They use them for military purposes.
But this has been done for centuries, and eternity. There have been tunnels.
So Hamas is not only a terrorist organization. We can all agree on that. And then on top of that, it's also an ideology. And right now, that's what the problem is. The more you bomb, the more you kill, especially going into Rafah. All you're doing is creating more people who believe in that ideology. So that's what the ceasefire needs to be, because we have to think of a better way. If you're going to stop Hamas, the group, the only way to do that is to get people on your side. Shooting at them from afar, killing them, bombing them, that's not going to change.
And go, oops, we thought you were Hamas.
And if Hamas is hiding under the tunnels, they're just bombing all the civilians on top that can't go into the tunnels. So you're just getting them even more mad and having them join Hamas, like you said.
Yep.
Right.
And the starvation and everything else. Yeah.
Let the people start coming out, unite them, and eventually Hamas will start showing their heads like a cockroach, and slam them.
Well, and even
not the
even people. If Hamas doesn't show their heads, the thing is,
unless you want to kill them,
bring in the humanitarian aid, you start helping people and stop the starvation and the robbing and the crime. That's just like it's going to happen because people are desperate right now. I mean, people, when they talk, I think it was Netanyahu. It was Netanyahu who went on CNN, that whole interview that you even saw, Sasha, how he talked about, well, when we bring in supplies, people are robbing. They're desperate. They're dying. They're seeing their friends and family die. They're going to do everything they possibly can to protect them or trying to get them food. So there's even stories about people eating grass just to live and survive. So the thing is if you bring in this humanitarian aid, you change the idea. Instead of pointing guns, point a hand to, hey, let me help you. That brings people to your side. The more people on your side, that means the less people turn to Hamas.
But,
that means the organization begins to shrink. That means if somebody, for example, if they bring that humanitarian aid and they have this one city who's now on Israel's side and happy about, now we're working towards a two-state solution, a legitimate two-state solution that needs to happen. Well, then you're having people say, okay, well, these people are committing crimes. I want to help you.
Do you still believe in two-state solution? Do you still believe it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, let me ask you this. One state is there already, Israel. You don't have to worry about that one. Now, the second state, you want to create second state. Okay, in one of my programs, I said that, okay, let's see, you have an idea to put people on a spaceship and fly to Jupiter and back. you're going to venture capital and say, okay, I need money to do this brilliant idea. To say, that's really brilliant idea. Could you provide, please, a business plan? How are you going to do it? So let's see, day 1, day 5, day 75, and so on.
Josh, I'm not sure where
Did
you're
we give a business plan when we made it real estate?
When
Did
you
we
will
give a
start
business
to work on
plan
your
for
business
Israel?
plan, in about few days, if you're not complete idiot, you will realize that there is no technology exists today to do this plan. Same thing when you want to do.
So, Sasha, what you're saying, I got you, Sasha. Here you go.
Business
Here
plan.
you go.
Come on, shut up.
Right,
Give me your business plan. What do you want to do on day 1, day 2, day 5, day 75, and you will see there is no way that you can create the second state solution out of the tribes who have nothing, no civilization, no experience to have government actions.
This is how your example has bitten your own.
It's a private dream. There's no second state solution.
Sasha, hold on.
Somebody asked me, what is my percentages that I will allow for second state solution?
I get your
Here is
example.
my answer.
Plan for Israel.
We understand your example.
You have 1%.
You're stating
On optimistic, you have 1.5. There is no second state. Period. Just get into your heads. Okay,
you are stating that
I never saw a business plan for Israel.
Go somewhere. We should not
No.
Don't
tell me the bullshit.
So
there is no second state
something
solution.
that hit a tone that I want to know. Because you said that they got the women pregnant and they're waiting for them to have the babies.
Yep.
Why is that a bad thing? Are you condemning the women for being pregnant? Should they be killed and the babies be killed because they're half and half now?
What did they say exactly? They don't release hostages because.
So should the babies be killed? Are you saying that the babies
It's not a question of babies or the girls. They are all victims and they will die sooner or later anyway. So what I'm saying is that's the reason why the Hamas is not releasing these girls. They want to torture them because for them it's nothing. For them it's easier to die than to have a birth of these bastards. Okay?
Rick, take it away.
That's anyway what I have.
So, hold on a second. So eventually the war will end. But if you don't have an effective occupation that lasts for years, that supervises the rebuilding, and that's not associated with an anti-Israel movement, which means you have to bring in probably, foreign occupiers, ideally some kind of international agency to occupy Gaza in force. Because Gaza's been occupied before, but only by 9,000 Israelis, and it was ineffective. The only way to stop Gaza from being continuously radicalized is to have an occupation by a reasonable, neutral force.
Just
I
had a quick question and everything.
A lot of
because I know I've been
facts
gone for a while because I was trying to get from point A to point B and everything. But one, I want to hear from Isaiah because I was watching it and I wasn't hearing enough from Isaiah. So Isaiah, I want to hear some of your views and everything along those lines. But I was going to counter because I've got a great idea. You're going to love this, Jacoby, and everything, because I was listening to some of the talk earlier about immigration. And you remember there was a book that was put out a long time ago where all the African Americans kind of like went on strike. I think the Latin Americans should do the same thing. And let's see how effective that is, since they've got like a $3.2 trillion that they put into our economy. So if Nick's plan is going to be enacted, then I say that they go on strike, and then there would not be anybody to do the gardening. There'd be very little cooks. There'd be very little other parts of our economy that would be maintained and everything along those lines. So I think that there is a massive Latin American strike. And I was just actually talking to some Latin American folks. That could be a solution to Nick's proposal.
That happened in Florida and actually tanked the bill. But to get back to the Israel issue and the Israel and Gaza issue, a lot of the fighting is due to the fact of the Israeli occupation of Gaza and the West Bank. So that's a lot of the problems because the people, the Palestinian people and the people of Gaza want their own state. They want their land. That's all they want. They don't want all this extra stuff. Hamas, yes, has the their ideology of killing Jews or from the river to the sea. but so does Bibi Netanyahu, who said the same exact thing, and his right-wing government talked about from the river to the sea, Israel shall be. So therefore, that ideology is nasty and bad. It's genocidal on both sides. So we cannot condone it. We have to actually condemn and talk about it and be honest about it. So if we are searching for peace, just to answer your question, Sasha, how you went on this whole diatribe about Jupiter and we can't go because the technology isn't here, so we should give up. That's not true. We went to the moon and figured out the technology to go to the moon. So if we know that peace is a two-state solution, let's figure out that way. Qatar and the other Muslim nations have already stated that they want to help out and work towards that two-state solution because they're supportive of that two-state solution. So if that is Sasha, if that is the answer and that is the answer for peace, because obviously right now what you're saying is genocidal, and what you're saying is taking out all these individuals. As you told him, well, they're just going to die.
Every year, $100 million. Do you think if there would be a peace, Qatar would supply this money to Hamas? Absolutely not, because the whole purpose of Hamas and receiving its money is to kill Jews. If Hamas
again, you missed the whole
Jews,
statement
they will
about
not get any money
together to actually
so
help the people of Gaza and the actual Palestinian people, giving them a hand and not pointing a gun at them, saying, "Hey, you're Hamas."
Killing Jews. That's all purpose of existing of
But
Hamas.
you're advocating for killing Palestinian
Jews.
people.
There's no other purpose for
Sasha, hold on a second. I just went to my barber. My barber is Muslim, by the way. And what he said is that, and Jatopia said this as well, is that Hamas is an ideology. It is not the entirety of the people, which is what you have been trying to say, is that it is all of Palestine. And I know Jatopia said this, and Mr. Boyd, who is a Muslim American, brought this up when I was with him earlier this morning and everything, that it is an ideology. And what you're doing is you're creating more ideologues and everything. And I think Jatopia has brought this point up several times as well and everything.
Mark, I agree with you that they are an ideological organization, and their ideology is the only one to kill as many Jews as possible. That's their ideology. I totally agree with you, Mark. Thank you.
Since Israel became a nation in 1948, 76 years ago, Gaza has not had a non-corrupt, effective leadership. And I don't know how, so you bring in the UN. The UN has a history of not being super effective either.
Rick.
And then if you bring in other countries from the region, as Sasha's saying, that they all have agendas.
But Rick,
I don't know how
part of the
you
problem that we have two ideological entities, because I think that's where Jatobi was going, is that a lot of people would say that Zionism is a form of an ideology as well. So that we got two ideological things going against each other. You will never get that peace that you want and everything, because there are two ideologues going into that space. Would you agree with me, Isaiah, and everything? Because I want to hear some of your views as well. But that's what it seems to me. We got two strong ideologies.
Yeah, completely. And the Zionism, the ideology came in the 1890s. They always wanted Israel to be Palestine to be Israeli, even before World War II. It was always in the plans. Even Hitler, back in the 1930s or right before the World War, he had Palestine, Jews go to Palestine, even paid for their way. They even made this whole transfer system where you can transfer your money from Germany to Palestine easier by buying metals or something like that. And so the whole idea of Zionism actually came before World War II, before, let's say, that there needed to be a new home for a Jewish population because of all the hatred and things like that. And it's a lot of history
you can be an Israeli and want your country not to be wiped out and be a reasonable person. Right now, the right wingers are in charge of Israel, and they, Netanyahu's cabinet has some real assholes in it. And at the end of the war, there's going to be a change in government, and we can hope that more reasonable people are in charge of Israel.
Exactly.
And
on both
every
sides,
country wants to be safe, and wants to. People want to be able to live in Israel and not get blown up or raped.
Exactly.
Which is not unreasonable.
Yep. And that's for both. The Palestinian people just want to live. The Israeli people just want to live. work towards that solution. That's all it is. I mean, yes, again, we can all agree that Israel had a right to defend itself and go after Hamas. The problem is that take a boxing match, for example. You have a referee in the middle of a boxing match for a reason. If a man gets hit and then he turns around and starts pummeling the other dude, doesn't the referee stop it? Or should the referee just let it go and let them kill that dude right there? It doesn't work that way. So what we're doing is basically playing that referee and trying to make sure that everybody has a chance to live and survive and go on. And that's what the goal should always be. Hence the reason, a two-state solution. What do the Palestinian people always wanted? Their land. That's all they want. It's not that they want to kill everybody else. No, there's an ideology. We can agree with that, but that's a small percentage. That's not what the people themselves want. The people just want to live.
I know we're winding down because like I said, I know it came in later and everything, but Kim brought up some points and I was just going to bring them up. One is that she was saying that she doesn't going to support anyone who thinks that women should be killed because they are impregnated by the enemy and are half and half. And I remember even, and Toby, you can back me up on this, that was part of the slave narrative, because we do know that within slavery, there were a lot of slaves that were actually impregnated by their slave masters. And there was definitely a lot of conversation around folks that were definitely had both sides of their ancestry, and in some cases were given advantages. In some cases, there were even here in Durham, there were some families that were intermingled and all along those lines. But that can be a whole nother conversation, because sometimes that becomes a thing that happens in society. I think even happens in the Latin American society. Correct me if I'm wrong, Isaiah, but I think there have been some conquest kind of situations in that space as well. And then Toby, Lee had a question for you, which is two states. Why was that not accepted in 1948? And can
I don't care what happened in 1948. That's always a poor argument. Why didn't I have a dog in 1983? What, that means I can't get one now because I didn't have one then? No, that is just a poor argument. It's always it's horrible to use. Well, in 1948 they didn't want it. Okay, that was 1948. Let's talk about today, when half of the country is younger than 20. So they didn't even have an opportunity to vote in Hamas. Yet you're saying that everybody in God, the Palestinian people love Hamas. Well, half of them didn't even have a chance to vote for Hamas. So, and even at that time, Hamas even sounded reasonable. What everybody's mindset is what happened today, and forgetting about, 14 years ago, 20 some odd years ago, when the gentleman from Hamas came up, sounded reasonable in comparison to the corrupt government that was actually there at the time. They actually he sounded better than him. People wanted a better world. It wasn't about killing Jewish individuals or Israel. No, he sounded reasonable at the time, but it turned out they were conned, just like people who were voting for Trump, conned. So they fell for that trap. And now they're stuck because of Hamas taking away elections. There hasn't been an election since he was actually.
I'd like to add that Benjamin Netanyahu actually funded Hamas to separate West Bank from Gaza, so they wouldn't be united and be together. So a lot of the problems that we have now is actually funded by Israel on purpose, so they would have an enemy to fight against.
I'd
Exactly.
like to mention something, that Hamas, if that's the case as you described, Israeli army actually is trying to help the Palestinian people to get rid of this evil by the name
killing 20-30 unfortunately Palestinian people.
Yeah, that's a fact.
They're trying to get rid of
Hold on a second, because I did see Kim's message. We got to get ready to wrap up. I was going to let y'all know that on tomorrow, because I was talking to him while I was going back and forth and everything, Steve Rao will be coming on tomorrow, and he will be discussing his view and his meeting with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Yes, he did meet both of them on Tuesday, so he will be coming on to tell us what he learned and what they told him and what is going on. And by the way, I did learn that there has been a bump, and we can talk about this tomorrow too. So there's been a Biden bump. I hate to tell you this, Nick, but apparently he is gaining ground in the 6 swing states and has got a Biden bump going on right now. So just wanted to share that with you. And Steve will be talking about the election and his meeting with Kamala and President Biden on tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Lovely. Have a great day, everybody.
Hi, Jacoby.
Hey, Kim.
We'll get there. Sometimes it's hard to get the
I got it.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.